This is ABC.
Just ahead on KTXS Action News, the jaws of life are used to free a Dias airman involved in a car crash on Highway 277. And an overnight shooting sends 2 to the hospital and 2 to jail. I'm Kevin Marks. The news is next.
KTXS-TV, Sweetwater, Abilene. Now, Kevin Marks, Roxanne Rodriguez, Dwayne Alexander, and Rick Carr. This is KTXS Action News.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Roxanne Rodriguez has the night off. A 2.5-hour standoff ends in tragedy after a man shoots himself in the front yard while neighbors look on in horror. Abilene police were called to the 3100 block of South 13th shortly after 4 this afternoon. Police say 32-year-old Tim Hennigan, upset over his relationship with his girlfriend, threatened to shoot himself. Police negotiated with Hennigan, who walked out his front door on several occasions with a .38 caliber pistol to his head.
He was very upset. He told the officer to leave the premises. The officer said, "I need to stay here and talk to you." The guy pulled a gun, said, "I'm going to hurt myself." We backed off, tried to talk to him. I got here. The subject come outside several times during that time. We were talking to him on the curb there in front of his residence, and he took a .38 caliber weapon and shot himself in the right forehead.
Hennigan was taken to Humana Hospital, where he died at 9:30 this evening. Neighbors say Hennigan recently moved into the area. 2 Abilene men are in the Taylor County Jail charged with attempted murder. Their victims, a 19-year-old man and a 15-year-old boy, are in the hospital with gunshot wounds. Hospital officials say 19-year-old Michael Clay is in serious condition at Hendricks Intensive Care Unit. The teenager's name and condition are not known at this time. Police say the shooting stemmed from an argument over a parking space at this fast food restaurant on South 1st and Pioneer. The business received bullet holes in the windows, as did another business across the street. Arrested in the shootings were 23-year-old Antonio Moore and 25-year-old Gregory Williams. Moore's bond has been set at $25,000. Williams will be arraigned Monday morning. An Abilene man shot early Saturday morning is in serious condition at Hendrick Medical Center. 27-year-old Frank Ramos was shot in the upper left chest after getting into an argument with 2 suspects known to him. Ramos's girlfriend, who was on the phone with him while the fighting was going on, called police to the 1500 block of Orange Street. The suspects fled the scene. Ramos is in the intensive care unit at Hendrick. If the Texas Attorney General gets his way, criminals will actually serve the time they are sentenced, and victims would have more rights. Last week, Attorney General Dan Morales unveiled a legislative package which would eliminate appeals used by death row inmates to delay the process. Among his 6-point package, income settlements from civil cases would be directed to a new victim trust fund and used for victim restitution. Judy Edwards of the Crime Victims Crisis Center supports Morales' recommendations.
I think all of the points in his package, the support for peace officers, law enforcement, to give the district attorney maybe greater power in terms of drug offenses, certainly the Crime Victims Compensation Fund, and the lengthening the amount of an offender's sentence to be a little bit more accurately reflective of what they were assessed. I think all of those points are very much in favor, very much in support of crime victims.
Attorney General Dan Morales will be at the Abilene Civic Center on Tuesday afternoon to meet with community leaders, residents, law enforcement officials. A Dias airman is in stable condition at Humana Hospital following a 2-car collision on Highway 277 and Dubbright Boulevard near the base. Police say Chris Harriet was pinned in his twisted wreckage of his truck. The jaws of life called in to free him. The victim was traveling eastbound on 277 and the other driver was coming south on Dubbright when the two collided at the intersection.
It needs to have a stoplight there so people can get across 277 because it's very bad right there.
And so you saw the guy trying to cross, and then at what point did you see all that?
After it hit, it's when he flipped 4 times, and then he finally came to a rest.
Harriet is again listed in stable condition at Humana Hospital. Hundreds of oil and gas businessmen and women are in Abilene for the start of their winter meeting of WTOGA, the West Central Texas Oil and Gas Association. And one item on the agenda for discussion will be the president's proposed energy tax. I spoke with both the president and president-elect about their feelings on the BTU tax.
We know for one thing for sure, we're not interested in
a tax at the wellhead. And this is the thing, it's the scary part to the oil and gas industry of being taxed on the BTU deal of at the wellhead. Now, if it's at the consumer's end of it, then I think it'll catch everybody.
It appears that everything the president has presented is a tax on the public at the gas pump, not at the wellhead for the independent. So, of course, as you know, we had some tax legislation last year on the alternative minimum tax, which we think is a plus for this part of the area. And we think the 3D seismic that seems to be working this area is a plus. So right now, we don't see anything negative coming from the Clinton administration.
Joining the Watauga members are state lawmakers and members of the Texas Railroad Commission. Lloyd Benson is meeting his first real challenge as Treasury Secretary, and that's selling his boss's economic package. On This Week with David Brinkley, the former Texas senator sounded his battle cry over the energy tax proposal.
The mere fact that we brought up the energy tax, that we're making a serious attempt there to get this deficit down, had an immediate reaction on the bond market, brought interest rates down to the lowest rate that they have been in 7 years, and then turned around and brought home mortgage rates down to the lowest rate in 20 years. Now, that is a big payoff.
Secretary of Housing and Urban Development Henry Cisneros was stumping for the president in Texas today. In San Antonio, Cisneros pushed the president's economic agenda and defended its merits. The former mayor of the Alamo City was also honored at a reception for the San Antonio Education Partnership.
What people are telling me is make sure that the spending cuts occur at the same time or before